Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We warmly welcome all of you who are gathered here with us today to expand your horizons as budding entrepreneurs. I'm Natasha Guntilakar, your host for the day. To start off with the day's proceedings, I would like to kindly invite Ms. Shafia Sadiq to formally welcome the gathering.
Good evening to everyone who has joined us today for the workshop on how to write a formal letter, a proper email, and telephone etiquettes to be followed as a unique entrepreneur. I feel much privileged to welcome you all on behalf of the third year batch of the Department of Entrepreneurship of the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. First and foremost, let me warmly welcome the guest speaker of the day, Ms. Hasanti Abesinghe, lecturer in English Center for IT Education Services at the Open University of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, madam, for accepting our invitation and being the key resource person for the workshop. It is indeed our pleasure to have you here with us today. On behalf of the Department of Entrepreneurship, I offer my sincere regards to the head of the department, Dr. Mrs. Sriyani Ranasinghe, and the coordinator of the subject, Ms. Pubudini Lianage, for the opportunity given to us in organizing this workshop session. Finally, let me warmly welcome all the participants who are joining us today through the Zoom platform. We hope that you all would benefit from this session, and this workshop enlightens us all and provides us with approaches deal with the challenges of tomorrow. Over to you, Natasha.
Thank you, Shafia. Knowledge is indeed a powerful tool. Practicality combined with knowledge expands its power. Tonight, we have an amazing personality with us who is well versed in the topic we are discussing on and who has educated many throughout years. Moving on to the main session of the day, I would like to welcome Ms. Hasanti Abesinghe, lecturer in English Center for IT Education Services at Open University of Sri Lanka, to proceed with the day's agenda. Madam, over to you.
Thank you, Natasha, and good evening, everyone. I hope give me 1 second till I get my document. I guess I might need support from one of the hosts to share the document because it doesn't give me access. So can I request Iloshana to get on screen, please? Thank you. Iloshana, are you here? I'm sorry, I'm on a power cut, and which is why we are facing a lot of other issues. But just a second. Give me 2 minutes.
Madam, can you make me as a host?
Just a second, Iloshana, I can connect. I got on hotspot. Yes. All right. I might need controls once again. You can make me a co-host. Am I audible or have I lost that as well?
No, madam, you are audible. Just give us a few seconds.
Okay. I'm sorry, we are all in this together. Power cuts, technical failures. Let's ride it.
Recording in progress.
Cool. Have I gotten controls? Tiloshana, I should be able to manage controls, but I need the controls. Make me a co-host, maybe?
Madam, I think you are given the co-host.
I guess you can see my screen now. Yes?
Yes, madam, we can see.
Okay. Right. I think my voice is not echoing. Are we good to go? Are the technical difficulties sorted?
No, madam.
Do
Everything
you
is
hear an
fine. Go
echo
ahead.
when I talk?
No, madam.
Yes or no message on the chat box, maybe? No, it's fine. Right. So good evening, everyone. Very sorry for the first 5 minutes. Like I said, it's technical difficulties and everything else which are beyond our control. So let us get back on what we were planning to do. This is about business correspondence for entrepreneurs. I put all your 3 topics together and tried to come up with a catchy title, and this is the best I could come up with. I am Hasan Tiabesinghe. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. I was there at Javadhanapura for quite a few years, and then moved out as a student, and then also I was teaching there for some time. And just to get us on board, can we have the names and where you're from and one thing that makes you happy right now on the chat box as a message? I was told this is a workshop. So if it's a workshop, you're supposed to be working. And just to get us on board and for us to work, can we have this on the chat box? Your name, where you're from, and one thing that makes you happy right now. Don't just listen to me, just read the message on the screen and complete the activity. Am I not receiving the messages or are you not sending? Okay. If I receive the messages, I'll come back to the screen again. But okay, Thilochana from Battaramula, I'm happy to see my doggy next to me. Okay, I got one message finally. Anyone else who's willing to type? Okay, I'll get back to this when I. All right, I think you lost me for a few minutes. Let's forget about the first slide. The key points of today's discussion, I was told that I need to do something related to telephone etiquette and writing a formal letter and about emailing. So apart from these three things, I also added this one thing which we call netiquette. I'll explain that later, but for the time being, we'll go by what was planned originally by your colleagues. Telephone etiquette. Before telephone etiquettes, it's important to know what is an etiquette. An etiquette usually is a polite or an accepted behavior in context. When we talk of polite and accepted behavior in context, this context could be regionally specific or culturally specific. Going a little beyond what we talk of divisions in context, we can also think of professionally specific context as well. Right? Now, in today's session, the expectation of the outcome of is that we learn the etiquettes in the perspective of an entrepreneur. How is etiquette important for entrepreneurs, and how do you as entrepreneurs should be using these correspondence in a more polite or an accepted behavior in context? Coming to telephone etiquette, we have now, back in the days, it was only the fixed line telephones that we had. We were quite okay having the wired telephones, which we have, which we now call the land phones or the fixed line telephones. And the etiquette we followed as telephone etiquette was only limited to that. But the world has moved so much and so forward to the level that there were a lot of technical advancements following the wired telephone. And as a result, we in today's world use mobile phones more frequently than these wired telephones. But one thing you need to remember as people, as potential employees, or maybe potential business owners, or potential entrepreneurs, I would say, we have not completely taken over this fixed line telephones. So it is important for you as undergraduates who will be the potential workforce of this country to know both of these things. Because only when you know both, you will be functioning in a way that you're accepted in the professional world. If you're answering a call on the fixed line, number one, start with a greeting. If you're answering the call in the morning, say good morning. If you're answering the call between 12 to 3:30 on a working day or maybe on the weekend as well, you have to start your phone with good evening. If it's after 4:30, sorry, between 12:30 to 3:30, it's good afternoon. If it's after 4:30, it has to be good evening till about 7 o'clock in the night. But this greeting is essential. This greeting also can be different in relation to the culture, in relation to where the country you're located in, etc., etc. That was the earlier practice. But the modern world is looking at the possibilities of breaking down barriers and bringing the professional world into a flat greeting, where we now call and greet with good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Otherwise, people used to say, like, if you're talking in Sinhala, you would say Ayubowan. If you're talking to someone who is from the Malay ethnicity, you would answer the phone with something like Assalamu alaikum. Or if you're answering, say, if it's a Tamil context, it used to be different. But now the Sri Lankan culture is, I mean, I'm talking about the professional culture. Sri Lankan professional culture is trying to accept a flat greeting where you say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Right? Remember that when you actually start working or when you're interning at a place. Second thing, announce your name. Tell who you are. Don't give calls and say, Mama kaudu kela danna or something like that. Don't try to surprise your listeners, surprise your receiver. Always announce your name or introduce your name. And importantly, concentrate on the volume of your speech and the tone. ගොඩක් හයියෙන් කතා කරන්න යන්න එපා. Don't go to be talking in high pitch. Like you can't speak loud on phone. That is considered rude. Don't speak low on the phone. That's considered faint. You have to manage a moderate volume when you're answering a phone. And remember, the next important thing is a toning. Tone means the kind of the movement of your voice when you answer a call. Don't give an angry tone. Don't give a flat tone. Try to give an exciting tone always to the person who is calling you. Right? The next thing, now you're on a fixed line, so you don't get the caller identity when you get a call. If the person who is calling from the other end did not or does not introduce himself or herself, you must, I repeat, you must wait until the person on the calling end decides to introduce himself or herself. If not, if the person does not or did not introduce herself during the entire call, you can request the name and the identity only at the end. You can say something like, can I request to have your name? Can I request to introduce yourself? Something like that. That has to be the last bit. You can't answer the phone and say, hello, Hasanti Abesingh speaking, who is this? The who is this part does not come at the beginning of your telephone call. This is common to fixed lines. I'll come with the mobile and I'll come to the mobiles later on. It's common to the mobiles as well. Then the last one, request permission or inform before transferring the call to someone. Usually, if you're working or if you're interning at an office, you get calls which are not to you, but to another person who is on the same line. So you have to sometimes transfer the call. If you are in a low authority, like if you're not in the managerial authority of a company, you have to always ask for permission to transfer. But if you're in the managerial capacity, you can inform before transferring. Example, if you're an intern in a company and if you get a call and if it needs to be transferred to 406, you can say that a way you can say that is, you can say, I am an intern here and the person you want to speak is on 406. Would you mind being on hold till I transfer the call? You have to ask for permission. But if you're a manager, say if you receive a call from one of your clients and you have to transfer it to the person who is doing finance. So you can simply say, the person who is handling this is Mr. Ishara from the finance. Let me transfer the call. So depending on the authority, you request permission or you inform before transferring the call. Last one, but this is the most important one. If it's a fixed line call, always take the message if the receiver is not around. If possible, take the contact number of the person calling as well. But before asking for the contact number, you must always take the message with the name of the caller and the purpose of calling. Right? Moving from this to the other one, it is the etiquette when using a mobile phone. This is very important for you as youngsters because half the time you're dealing with mobile phones and you're very unlikely to be using the fixed line telephones. Number one, be mindful about your ringtone. You don't have don't have like weird songs or weird ringing tones, right? It's like you wouldn't be, I mean, I've come across this incident where one of my interns when I was working recently, when I was at one of these workshops, there was this Sinhala song. There is this Sinhala song called Nathen. I can't remember, but the title went as Nathen. So that phone was ringing with that song. So what I want to tell you is that it is very important
Madam, your voice is lacking. Madam, can you hear me? Madam, we can't understand what you are saying. Your voice is lacking. I think you might be facing a connection issue.
I'm sorry, I got disconnected. These technical failures, I think my power restored. So with that, my entire system got crashed. So I'll go to what I was talking about. The screen will come very soon. So let me do the session until the screen comes up. The second thing I was wanting to tell you was about the different times, different zones. If you're out, you must not have your mobile phone on silent. If you're indoor, you must not have it on do mode. And if you're on a meeting, that means if you're seated on a physical meeting with people, you must always remember to have the phone on mute and not on silence. Phone එක mute තියාගන්න කියලා තියෙනවා. There's an option on your mobile phone saying mute, in which you don't find the mobile phone vibrating. When you put on silence, sometimes your phone vibrates. So remember those three things. Number one, if you're out in public, outside a building, you must always have your phone on outdoor mode and not on silent. If you're out of your office, you can never tell people that you're out and your phone was on silent. That is considered very unethical and unprofessional. But if you're inside a room, you must have a very low ringing volume. And if you're on a meeting, you must remember to have your mobile on mute. The next thing I wanted to tell you was, don't place your phone on the table during a meeting. Is my voice not clear?
Very clear, madam.
Can you tell me? Now clear or
Clear, madam.
clear? No? Sorry. So coming to what I was talking about, just a second. Don't place your mobile phone on the table during any meeting. Say you have gone out for lunch with your office colleagues, or maybe you've gone out for a meeting with your office colleagues. And in such context, we will not be keeping the mobile phone on the table. And the next one, you generally, whoever who is having controls need to give me controls once again. All right, I'm sorry about all the interruptions. It won't happen again. My internet is stable and I have power now. Okay, we are going forward from point number 3. Don't answer your phone if you're with others. If you're eating with even if you're eating with others, or if you're meeting a friend, if you're having a coffee with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever that is, you usually don't answer the phone. You would simply send one of those quick templated replies that you have saying, I'll call you back. This is something that you really need to learn. I also need to learn these things because I sometimes tend to answer the call when I'm with others. You're considered to be antisocial if you're located answering your phone while you're having a coffee with someone in person, or when you're at a meeting, or when you're with someone at a meal, or a group of people at a meal, right? The next one, answer before the 3rd ring. And also remember not to ring beyond the 3rd ring, right? You have to ring, we generally say in practice, to ring just twice. Depara prinkala natara karanne kiyala kiyenawa. And we also request the person, like, if you have a mobile and if you're getting a call, you must make sure that you answer before the 3rd ring. Unless you're a stranger, you don't need to introduce if you're calling a mobile phone. You would simply say the greeting. And the next important thing, which most of the people of your generation don't do, is that returning a missed or a delayed telephone call at your earliest. Returning a telephone call means not texting the person. You have to call back. Returning a call means if you miss a phone call, you will not text the person and ask, I have missed your call. Why did you phone? No, that's considered very unprofessional. You have to always call back, right? Next thing, when you're speaking on a mobile, more or less the same thing. You greet your caller or the receiver. It has to be a very professional greeting like good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Do not yell, especially if you're calling a mobile phone. Talk the softest you can speak because the other people can hear. The chances of the people around that person hearing what you say is very high if it's a mobile phone. And speak very slow. Be an active listener, because what happens with mobiles is that you tend to miss the message when you speak fast. So always be an active listener and do not use social media while you're on a phone. Now we have the Bluetooth earbuds and earpods or whatever you call it, and you tend to be talking on the phone and scrolling your phone. Don't do that. If you're spotted doing that at a coffee shop or at an interview, like while waiting for an interview or at office, that is considered to be like very passive and naive. So if you're calling, regardless of the mode of answering, you might have the phone on the ear or you might be having a Bluetooth earbud. still be an active listener to the phone call that you're getting. And allow space for technical and reception errors. Whatever the errors we face, we have to make sure that we leave space for that. Now, today, when we started off, we were like, we faced all sorts of technical penetration issues. So we are always working with machines when it comes to phones and mobiles. Make sure that you leave space for whatever the errors that can happen. And the next one, inquire if you should talk now or call back later. Now, this is another thing. Most of you will be driving. Okay, right now we will not, because we don't have the necessary petrol and diesel in the country. But in the time to come, when you become entrepreneurs, all of you will be driving your own vehicles. This is a very common error that we do, and we tend to plug in our mobile phones to the Bluetooth in the vehicle. And the mobile, usually when somebody calls, the phone automatically answers. You might not travel alone in the vehicle always. You might have someone else in the car, and the person calling you or the person you're calling will not know that there's another person in your vehicle. So make sure if you're calling a mobile phone, you don't have to do this if you're calling a fixed line. But if you're calling a mobile phone, always inquire if you can talk now, or whether you should come back later on this particular subject. Because we never know where that person is and what that person is doing. Because the person can always carry the mobile wherever that person is going. So this is important. And if you had called once and that person is not answering, leave a message if it's something that is extremely important. And one before the last, dial for the second or the third time, at least after 3 hours of your first phone call. Okay? And I have missed one point on screen, but I'll tell that. Always tell your receiver or the caller before putting that person on loudspeaker. And you have to tell where you are and who you are with when you put a person on loudspeaker. For example, if I'm calling someone and if I want to put that person on loudspeaker, I'd be like, I am putting you on loudspeaker, or can I put you on loudspeaker? I'm all alone in the room. Or I can say I am with Hasara or something, right? So that is one point I had missed putting. That is where this space is for. But remember that as well. Small activity before we move forward. You're compelled to inform your inability to deliver goods on time due to the crisis that we are facing to one of your clients via WhatsApp. This message is sent to give them a heads up. Giving a heads up means you're telling them ahead of time. Formal correspondence, a letter or an email, will follow. Post your WhatsApp message to this client to the chat box. Think of a possible WhatsApp message that you write. Are you writing or should we move forward?
Everyone, you can post your answers to the chat box if you have written the message already.
I am permitted to be bilingual, right, Natasha? Or should I be
Sure. No
Yeah.
worries at all.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you 1 minute more. විනාඩියක් දෙන්නම් තව බලන්න චුට්ටක්. ලියන්න පුළුවන් dance එකක් කියලා. Never mind. We'll move forward. Okay. One message at least. Dear sir, please be informed that we will be a bit late to deliver your goods on time due to the prevailing crisis. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Okay. That's good. And I'll move forward. If I have answers, I'll come back to it again. Why I got you to write the WhatsApp message is because now, since we are using mobile phones, texting is one major component in our day-to-day lives. Half the time we text, we rarely phone now. So when you text, remember to have your text simple. Simple means like not descriptive, විස්තරාත්මකව නැතුව සරල දෙයක් කියන්න. Coherent means connected text. If you're writing 2 sentences, make sure that your 2 sentences are connected. A direct text without too many, descriptions and figurative languages, it has to be a direct text. Professional language, non-discriminatory. Non-discriminatory means you can't send things like hi dude, hi miss, something like that. No, you can't say those things, because the moment you use words like dude, bro, sis, miss, whatever that is, it is considered to be non-discriminatory. To be non-discriminatory, you must either write the name, or you can say, dear sir, if you know that you're writing to a male, dear madam, if you're writing to a lady. You don't put the word miss. Miss is considered to be something like Mr. So if you put Mr. to somebody and say, dear Mr., we are sending you this late or something like that, that is considered to be a discriminatory statement. Similarly is miss. So don't use those things. Instead, use things like the name. You can, if you're writing to me, you can say, dear Hasanti. Or you, if you want to be courteous, like the Sri Lankan style, you can say, dear Miss Hasanti. Or you can say, dear madam. You would not say, dear miss. Okay. And remember, if you're sending a text to someone, the text has to be very short. And the maximum length should be, on a mobile phone, 3 lines. Okay. Moving from this to the next section or the segment of your workshop is business letter writing. Business letters are the oldest form of business correspondence we know. I'm sure you did it in your first year as well. But you have to remember that this business letter writing is constantly changing. What you learned in first year might not be what you're learning now. And the formats gets updated with the technological advancements. Because letter writing, in the earlier days, it used to be handwritten letters. And then came the typewriters. After the typewriters came the Pentium computers. From the Pentium computers, we moved on to the laptops. Now from laptops, we moved to the mobile phones, which we call the touch, mobile devices, which has the digital screens and operated by a touch. So things change. So the way out we have is you stay updated, you read the latest reports and observe the changing patterns. The more you are exposed, the more you learn new things. හැමතිස්සෙම අලුත් දේවල් කියවන්න, අලුත් දේවල් බලන්න, ඒ බලද්දි consciously බලන්න මොනවද වෙනස් වෙලා තියෙන patterns කියලා. Right? Coming from there to the format, I thought I'd just put it here to anyone who would want to know it once again. Format එකකදී දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට what we do is we have a letterhead and then the date strictly only this format, no other format is allowed, no digital format allowed. Then you put the name of the person you're writing, designation, address, salutation, dear sir, because we know it's a man when you say Ranesh, topic, inquiry on, to inquire, inquiring, whatever the form you want to start with, inquiry on specification related to device ABCD, whatever. And then you write the body. You say thank you, yours sincerely, signature, name and designation. In the context where you do not have a letterhead, you will be writing the address of the recipient, address of the sender. But as entrepreneurs, you will always have, the first thing you will have is a letterhead, an official email, and an official business WhatsApp account. So this is like the basics of starting your life as an entrepreneur and moving on to the professional community as an individual. So the letterhead and this format is the format that we use for business correspondence as a business personality. You might use the other formats and handwritten letters and close punctuation letters when you are at university, when you're writing for exams. But if it's for business and as an entrepreneur, you will be writing only in this format. These might change when you come out and when you actually start businesses, but so far this is the format. And considering the body of the letter, I just put it in a separate slide. First part has to be why you're writing this. Second section, what are you writing? The details and the specifics. Third one, what is expected? What do you want this person to do for you? And then with that, you can also say what you will do as a follow-up action. And then the last sentence of a close, the ending remark, something like hope to hear from you soon, hoping to receive a favorable I hope to receive a favorable response from you. I hope you will return my call or return to this request at your earliest possibility. The important thing about business letters is that you have to write complete sentences. Now, things like hope you will get back to me soon, which I said as the first thing, is not considered to be a complete sentence. You have to always say something like, I hope you will get back to me soon on this particular subject. Right? So that is the close. I won't go into details about this because this you have done for months in your first year, but I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong one, right? I'll go to the next one, the emailing bit, which is what I want to really stress on. Emails are the modern, widely accessible mode of correspondence. Different people use different domains. Like if you're working for a company, you might be working on the company domain. But mostly, most of us as individuals, we use Google as the main domain. And it's connected to various other apps and websites that you're using through this through this email address, by using this email address. Professionals often link the mail, the Google Spaces, the shared documents, and the calendar together. So as entrepreneurs, as budding entrepreneurs, you might have to get yourselves used to practicing the use of emailing. And how do you use Google Spaces for working? How the Google Sheets can be used for your financial and strategizing mechanisms, and how you can use Google Calendar when planning things. Most importantly, you must also know how to use all these 4 things integrated, as an integrated mechanism when you're working for someone or when you're working on your own. For example, if you want to fix a meeting, if you're working with a group of people, group of stakeholders, you must know how to create a Google space and keep it open for you to always connect. Say, if you want to get on a call, you must use that space. You must not try to call people on the phone. If you're working on an Excel sheet, if you're working on your finances and strategizing, you can share it with the people on this space and say, this is what I have done, this is what I want you to work on, and I've given access to all of them. And when you want to meet or when you want to schedule something, you can have a common calendar, a shared calendar in the spaces. These are things for you to explore and learn. The same is there for Outlook and Microsoft, Outlook as well, but I'm quite not sure. I have not worked with Outlook, so maybe you can do your own research on that. This is on Gmail. If you're using Gmail, there's a way of integrating all these 4, which I would say you must learn like your religion, if you really want to function fast in this modern world as entrepreneurs or business persons. When you're writing an email, this is what I want to highlight. In an email body, you have the subject email, you have the subject line and a space for the body. Rather, you start with the person's address, the person's email address, then you have the subject line, then you have a body, and then you have the signing off bit. This is something that you hardly do, but you have to learn how to do is the subject line should be accurate, comprehensive, and short. You have to, now in business letters, I told you, in the body we say why we are writing the email. On an email, the subject line says why we are writing the email. So your subject line matters a lot. If the subject line is not clear enough, sometimes the person who is receiving the email might not even open it. Because when you start working, you will understand you get 1001 emails a day. And you don't go to read all these emails. You only read the important emails. So for you to make your email look important, make sure you have a spot on subject, which is accurate, comprehensive, and short. Accurate, nivaradi. Comprehensive, සියලු තොරතුරු ඇතුළත්. Short, like one line subject. Subject එක ලියන්න එපා ගොඩක්. Say for example, if you're sharing the finances of the financial background of a particular project that you're proposing, you say the project name. What about this project? It can be the finances of the project, and you put the financial year, something like that. A very clear message on what this email is about. And on the body, you would start with a salutation like, "Dear Mr. Ranisha," or you can say, "Hello, Ranisha," or you can say, "Hi, Ranisha," something like that. That is allowed on email. Or if you're writing to a group of people, and if you want to address all of them, you can say something like, "Dear team." You don't say to whom it may concern anymore. You would use something like, "Dear team." If you don't know the person you're writing to, you would simply say hi. Or if you know the name, you would say, "Dear Mr." Or sometimes now in the latest formats, you are asked to omit this Mr. and Miss parts. So instead of saying "Dear Mr. Ranesha," you would simply say "Dear Ranesha." Right? So that is like the latest trend in emails. You don't put the, like, the Miss, Mr., doctors sorts of abbreviations in the front. You simply say the name, right? Then you put the normal points that you write. What are you writing for? The details and the specifics. What is the expected action for them to do? Follow up and the close. Generally, an email has to be within 4 to 5 lines maximum. You don't go to write paragraphs in emails. Emails වලදී paragraphs ලියන්නේ නැහැ. උපරිම lines 4ක් 5ක් අතර ගානක්. 6කට යන්න පුළුවන් if that is essential. If not, please try to limit it to 5 lines. 5 lines means not 5 sentences, 5 lines on the computer screen. Computer screen එකේ email එක open කරාම lines 5කට එන විදිහට තමයි තියෙන්න ඕන. 5 sentences කියන එක නෙමෙයි මම මේ කියන්නේ. Okay? ඒකෙන්ද තමයි මම කලින් කිව්වේ subject line එක කොච්චර වැදගත්ද කියන එක. Because the subject line explains a lot of things. And you don't have to repeat what you write in the subject line in your body. Right? And the signing off, you would put a signing off clause like "best regards," "thanks and regards," "kind regards," something like that. Remember not to put things like "BR" for best regards, "KR" for kind regards. Those are considered unprofessional in the business context, something like that. And then after the close, you put your name. And that has to be your first name, not your surname, not your full name, just the first name. In my case, it's Hasanti. And sometimes if it's within internal correspondence, office එක ඇතුලේ නම් project එකක team එකක කට්ටියක් ඇතුලේ නම් ඔය email එක circulate වෙන්නේ, you put your mobile number as well. Or sometimes if you're writing to a person that you want an immediate response, you put the mobile number as well. The mobile number comes after the name. නම ඉස්සරහින් ඉරක් ගහලා mobile number එක දාන්න එපා. Right? You put the name and then your mobile number in the next line. What not to do when writing emails? Then අර මම කිව්වේ what to do and how to write emails කියන එක. What not to do means නොකළ යුත්තේ මොනවද? Incomplete or no subject. You must always have a complete subject. Incomplete subjects යවන්න එපා. Wrong recipient. වැරදි අයට emails යවන්න එපා. In case if you send an email to a wrong person, immediately write a follow-up email saying it was a mistake and apologize. You just say, please ignore the previous email, something like that. I regret the inconvenience caused. And sometimes we have this habit of copying a lot of people that we like, to just to show that you're sending an email. හැමෝම CC කරලා email එක දාන්න. Don't do that as well. Simply write to the people who are important. 2 කියන line එකේ ගොඩ දෙනෙක් දාන්න එපා. 2 එකේ එක්කෙනයි නැත්තම් දෙනයි ඉන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් ඔක්කොම CC කරන්න තමයි තියෙන්නේ. But if you're writing to a group, all the group members should be under 2. You can't put one person under 2 and put them under CC. Put the others under CC. එක්කෙනෙක් 2 දාලා ඔක්කොම අනිත් අය carbon copy දාලා group එකකට email එකක් දාන්න බෑ. Group email එකක් නම් හැමෝම 2 එකේ ඉන්න ඕන. නැත්නම් හැමෝම CC එකේ ඉන්න ඕන. But if you are writing to one person and if you want to let others know that you're writing to this person, then you can put that one person as the 2 person, the recipient, and the others under carbon copy. Important thing is you don't copy, you don't CC an email, you CC an email to a boss. If you're writing to someone in the lower authority, and if you want to let your boss know, or if you want to let your boss know that you're writing to this person, you have to always write through your boss. Boss ta email එක දාන්න ඕන මේක මේ අනිත් කෙනාට forward කරන්න. එහෙම නැතුව boss ව copy එකේ තියලා CC එකේ තියලා අනිත් ඔක්කොටම emails දාන්නේ නැහැ. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ තමන්ගේ superior කෙනාව copy තියාගෙන පිටායට emails දාන්නේ නැහැ. If you want to write to someone outside, either you write direct or you write through your boss. You write to your boss asking your boss to bring it to the notice of the other person. Then the other thing is that you don't write long sentences. දිග වාක්‍ය ලියන්න යන්න එපා. And on emails, you don't write block letters. Block letters as in capital letters වලින් emails ලියන්න යන්න. Don't put weird fonts, cursive fonts දාන්න යන්න එපා emails වල. Contrasting font colors. I see some of the people write in pink, purple, whatever, red, yellow sort of colors. Don't write your name and all in those weird colors. Don't use large font sizes. Right? Don't go to use large font sizes. And most importantly, digital signature. If you have a signature already set on your computer, don't put it with lot of colors and too many distractors. Colors, amutu colors dala, amutu fonts dala, nikang tamanga highlight wenna pennanna hadanna epa. That shows a very unprofessional attitude. Right? So these are the things that you should not do when you're writing emails. The next one I wanted to do was an activity, but since we've run out of time and I find very little responses from you, I'll pass this or I'll skip this. Will the organizers be fine with it? If I skip this activity, will that be fine, or do you want to do the activity? We'll ask the participants.
That's all right, ma'am. We can skip the activity.
Yeah, because I took a little bit more time. But if you really want to do this, there's the Padlet link. Tilochana had put it on the group. Write it and post it. I will put a feedback when I have time. You can do it after the session as well. Okay. So simply you have to write the follow-up email for the WhatsApp message that you sent earlier. That's what I wanted you to do. Right. That's about emailing. And most importantly, we come to this thing, netiquette. Now we formally talk of etiquette, and that's like a very common thing that we talk. The netiquette is the network etiquette. Now you are mostly digital learners because you tend to be, I'm sure you learned 2 years online on hybrid mode. And probably when you start working, you will be working from home, which is also again a network-based mode of working. So netiquette or the network etiquette is also something that is equally important, equally or more important than the telephone etiquette that we are doing. Because we now hardly talk. We work on MS Teams or some sort of a platform where we tend to communicate through different blogs or sometimes on chat boxes, on WhatsApp or something like that. This is important with the increasing dependency on the internet. That's what I said. You as learners, you are learning half the things through the LMS and through network-based modes. And you will be, when you get into the entrepreneurial, when you have your hands on the practical entrepreneurial grounds, you'll notice that most of the entrepreneurs nowadays are social entrepreneurs. And in this social entrepreneurial culture, digital literacy is considered very important. And network dependency is also something that goes very closely with entrepreneurs, because the entrepreneurial culture has transformed into a digital-based, technocentric, development-oriented sort of a culture. The development is always like global. You're looking at a global perspective, and you bring in the technology as a technocentric element to your entrepreneurial lifestyle. And in that case, your digital literacy or the network literacy is very important, right? This is important for everyone, starting from the ones who are starting to be the learners, people like you who are going to be budding entrepreneurs, and also for the existing entrepreneurs to survive in business. And the only way that you can master etiquette is updating yourselves and following the current trends. Or like we say, the following the current. And importantly, learn from each other and teach each other. That's the key of netiquette. So we have 10 ground rules which I extracted from this website. When you're working through network-based modes, rule number one is you have to always remember, although it is machine-based and you're working on a network, the person on the other end is a human. That person will have all the human needs and all the human issues. Maybe she or he is going through an emotional breakdown, or maybe a family situation, anything that can affect the working culture. So remember that the other person is a human. And always try to remember the good behavior and practice what you follow in person when you're working online. Say, for example, don't go to call after 10 o'clock. No, that's not a thing to do. I would say, now, in my case, I put my phone on do not disturb mode. On most of the days, I have scheduled it in a way
that it automatically comes to that at 8:30 in the nights. So after that, unless I am out, මම එළිය නෙමෙයි නම් ඉන්නේ මගේ ෆෝන් එකට එන calls එකක්වත් ring වෙන්නේ නැති වෙන විදිහට මම settings හදලා තියෙනවා. So people might be having that sort of issues because netiquette එකක් කියන්නේ you have to know where to draw the boundary කියන එක. So like you know when you phone someone you won't go to phone twice. Like this on network dependency modes MS Teams වල වැඩ කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තව මොකක් හරි portal එකක වැඩ කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. 10ට 11ට messages දාන්න එපා. Definitely not after 5 o'clock. Right? Know where you are in cyberspace. That means know your domain. Where are you working? I mean, master the skill of understanding where exactly you are in the cyberspace. අපි මේ cyber space එක ඔක්කොම දන්නේ නැහැනේ. අපි දන්නේ හරි limited space එකක්. ඒ limited space එක ඇතුලේ අපි function වෙනකොට අපි දන්න ටික හරියට function කරන්න තමයි ඕන. And the next thing respects the other people's bandwidth and time. Which is why I was very sorry at the beginning because I was taking 5 or 10 minutes of your session. And that is the exact reason why I skipped the 15 minutes. 15-minute activity එක මම skip කරන්න එකම හේතුව උනේ මම කලින් මගේ අතින් විනාඩි 15ක විතර lapse එකක් වෙච්ච එක. Because your time is equally important as my time. Your data is equally important as my data. The bandwidth that we share right now is equally important for all of us. So we have to know to respect each other. මෙතනදී now there is no authority in etiquette. Netiquette එකේදී මේ boss ට මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්, boss කෙනෙක් හින්දා කරන්න පුළුවන්, මම මගේ business එක මට අයිති හින්දා මට ඕන දේ කරන්න පුළුවන්. Those things don't come. Those things don't count at all. Respect everybody's time. It can be your intern, can be your driver, can be anyone. Right? And most importantly, make yourself look good. Just as in person, api manusek hamben yanakoda, we would be nicely dressed up. We'd be decently dressed up. In the same way, on network-based communication, try to avoid language errors. Communicate clearly. Know what you're saying. Don't just say haphazard things. Don't waste time talking, talking all the external details without talking directly to the point. Be pleasant and polite. Use the kindest words you can. Use the most kind words you can find in your vocabulary when you're talking on internet-based platforms, right? And importantly, share your expertise. If you learn something new on how to use a digital platform, teach it to the others. Help to keep the flame wars under control. This is very important. I also have done this mistake. Mamat me mistake එක කරලා තියෙනවා කලින්. That means when we work on network-based issues and on network-based portals, we are alone. අපි තනියෙන් ඉන්නේ. මම ඉන්නේ computer එකක් ඉස්සරහා. And you're also in front of a device. And we don't get to see the emotions. I don't know whether you're listening to me or not. You don't know where I am and how I am feeling either. Unlike in a face-to-face, in-person discussion. So in such cases, it is very likely that we tend to have emotional reactions. අපි හැමෝටම emotional reactions එන්න තියෙන ඉඩ වැඩි network-based platforms වල වැඩ කරද්දී. In such cases, you have to constantly, consciously watch your emotions. තමන්ට දැනෙන දේ තමන්ට, like as undergraduates, you might be getting overloaded. උදේ ඉඳන් හවස වෙනකන් lectures ඇති, ඊට පස්සේ assignment submissions LMS එකේ ඇති. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවට you might run into frustrations, desperations, whatnot. So in such cases, watch yourselves carefully. තමන් දිහා බලන්න, තමන් දිහා reflection එකක් ගන්න. and try to calm your emotions as much as possible. Don't go to show your emotions to the other person who is behind, like, who is on the other side of the screen, right? Next one, respect the privacy of the other person. Now, this is very important for people, younger people, who tend to share screenshots. I also do this sometimes, but I'm consciously stopping this. We have to always respect the privacy of the other person. It can be an email, it can be a WhatsApp text, it can be, okay, it can't be Snapchat because Snapchat no screenshots. What are the other platforms you work on? Emails, WhatsApp, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, unless on vanish mode. So whatever that is, you must not share, right? And also don't abuse your power. Now, if you are the person who is having controls, then try not to abuse the power of network-based portal working. Like, if you are an entrepreneur and if you have a business, don't abuse your authority as a business person to do unwanted things. Right? You're adults, so you know what I mean by unwanted things. That is another thing. And the last but not least, be forgiving and compassionate. Now, I was very happy with, and I was very glad for your patience with me when I was going through a lot of technical difficulties at the beginning, like that. Technically, the first half of the session. So that compassionate compassionate nature, compassionate reaction towards the other person gives that person the confidence that it's okay to, screw things up on the way. We can always pick up. පොඩ්ඩක් වරදිච්ච ගමන් තව කෙනෙක්ට චුට්ටක් නිකන් නඩ්ජ් කරන්න යන්න එපා digitally වැඩ කරද්දී. Try to be as friendly as possible and try to get the work done. Keep your focus on the work and remember you're working with another person, a human who is dealing with technical devices which are beyond the control of that person, right? So these are like super simple but very important 10 ground rules for you to follow. So if I may wind up what I was talking about today, I came up with 4 different aspects. That is A, telephone etiquette, B, formal letter writing, C, emailing, and about netiquette. And with that, we conclude the session. It's more like a lecture though, although we wanted to make it a workshop format. It's beyond impossible levels because I'm sure some of you are experiencing power cuts right now as well. So with that, we'll call it a day. And thank you. The controls are over to Natasha from here onwards.
Thank you very much, madam, for your kind explanations and the wonderful session comprised of several areas which are really important to us undergraduates. I think now it's time for the questions. Dear audience, if you have any questions, please do direct them now. You can either unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put the questions on the chat box as well. We'll wait for one more. We need to
So anyone has questions, you can direct those to Ms. Hasanti, or else you can put those questions onto the chat box. It seems everything is clear to everyone. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. So before concluding the events for the day, I would like to welcome Ms. Radha Tilochana to propose the vote of thanks.
A very good evening to all. On behalf of all colleagues and lecturers, I'm glad to express my vote of thanks. A special thanks to our guest speaker, Ms. Hasanti Abhay Singha, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today with all these technical issues. I thank our coordinating lecturer, Ms. Pubuduni Riyanage, for always supporting and guiding us. This workshop has truly inspired us to write a formal letter, a proper email, and a telephone, as well as network etiquettes. As a unique entrepreneur, I would be failing in my duty if I didn't thank my fellow colleagues who have made this workshop session possible. I would also like to thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you once again.
With that, we have come to the end of today's session, and I hope this session was useful for all of us in many ways. My group members and myself would like to thank you once again for joining with us today. Have a good night.